Right, good afternoon, everyone. This is a regular update from the Network's home board meeting, which took place on Tuesday evening, the 30th of November. One thing to mention about this meeting was that it was an open meeting, by which I mean that we had advertised to residents that if they wanted to come and observe, they could do so, and similarly to staff who wouldn't normally attend the board meeting. We only had 2 residents there. We had a number of staff observing. We will continue to do at least one open meeting a year, although the board is open to doing more than that if there appears to be demand. Obviously, if very few people come, it may not be worthwhile. But, you know, the offer is there. So it had a very full agenda, as always, and there was the normal business before the board, including reports from all of our subcommittees. One of the things that those who observe the meetings will notice is that a lot of detailed work is done in subcommittees. So we have a finance committee considering risks to the business and the financial performance of the business. We have a customer services committee, which is the committee which takes the very detailed performance information about how the organisation is delivering for residents. Obviously, there's an audit and risk committee, as you would expect for an organisation of this size, and we have a development subcommittee which is in charge of where we're going to build new developments and making sure that they stack up financially and so on. Each of the chairs of those subcommittees will give a report to the board, and they did so on this occasion. I'm not going to go through them all because it would make this a very long summary, but just so people are aware, that's where a lot of the legwork of governance business for an organisation like Network goes on. In terms of substantive items in front of the board, there were 3 or 4 really significant reports. First of all, I wanted to mention the sustainability strategy. This is the strategy which sets out how Network will approach achieving net carbon zero from its housing stock by 2050. Actually, it's probably not as long term as that at the moment. We have an interim target of achieving EPCC by 2030, and we have a provision in our business plan of £90 million to assist us to do so. And this strategy document, which was adopted by the board, sets out the sort of building blocks for implementing that strategy. One of the items that would be of particular significance to residents was a proposed change to the way that we approach transfers and lettings. At the moment, Network hosts its own transfer list. In other words, if you're living in a Network home and you need or you want to move, you can register with us for a transfer. There are upwards of 1,800 people on our transfer list, and at the rate at which we're building and making homes available for letting, we have really no chance of assisting most of those people in the foreseeable future. In addition to that, we have over 200 people in our highest priority for transfer, many of whom have been waiting for many years, and some of whom are in circumstances where, you know, their living situation is considered to be a risk to them, but we are unable to assist them because we don't have the kind of property that they want in the areas that they're interested in. So the board has given this a lot of consideration, and we have decided to create, if you like, a common transfer list with the local authorities in which we work. What that means is, instead of holding our own transfer list, people in Network homes who need or want to move will be registered with the appropriate local authority in a common transfer list, prioritised according to everybody else looking for a home, and Network will make available all of our lettings, all of our empty homes, that is, to that local authority to nominate to. The board agreed this change of policy, but it did say that it wanted a careful communication plan and transition arrangements, because obviously it has a direct effect on many people who are waiting for rehousing, and we will be devising that transition plan over the next few months. And there will be a lot of communication and publicity about it. The board also considered a paper about pay for our people. And what this did in essence was, first of all, it agreed that we would publish all our rates of pay across the organisation within bands of £5,000. This is a departure from where we are at the moment. At the moment, our executive pay is published in our financial statements, but the rest of the people in the organisation, they may know what is paid for particular roles as vacancies are advertised or similar, but it's not actually transparently put out there, and this will do that. One of the arguments for doing this is that it assists in sort of equality issues, because people can see transparently what everybody else is paid and consider that relative to their own remuneration. And also it is considered likely that certain groups in our people are more likely to ask for increased pay and receive increased pay, perhaps because they're, you know, more forceful about asking for it. And by making all of this transparent, it creates a more level playing field, so to speak. That paper was agreed by the board, and that will now be implemented. The other thing that it did was a significant change to the way that we assess performance, and consolidating in what have previously been performance related payments into base pay. The idea of this is that because PRP, as it's called, had become, you know, the focus of the appraisal system, that it was actually getting in the way of having good, direct, honest conversations about where people were performing well or where they were performing less well. Finally, I just wanted to talk about the rent setting for the forthcoming year, which was discussed in a confidential part of the meeting, although subsequently the board reflected that actually it would have been better to have the discussion in the open meeting so everybody could see the considerations that went into the decision. Rents for housing association tenants are controlled, and they are set by reference to the rate of inflation. So for the forthcoming year, the rate of inflation was 3.1%, and the rent formula is that rents will increase by 3.1% plus 1%, so a total of 4.1%. That ranges in cash terms for our residents from between about £5 to £6 a week, up to £16 a week for our highest rented homes. We do understand, and there was a lot of concern about this additional financial burden at a difficult time for household finances generally, but the other consideration from the board's perspective is that we're under significant cost pressure. The inflation rate reflects that, but in construction and maintenance in particular, rates of inflation are much higher than the 3.1% in the overall rate. And if we don't take the rent increase when we are able to under the formula, we can't subsequently go back and increase rents to make up for it when, you know, economic times are generally speaking better. So the rent increase will be applied in full. We do have a welfare benefits team, and we do have a hardship fund, and both will be made available to people approaching us who are having difficulty with their household finances, either in the light of the rent increase or generally. We will always offer assistance first to people who are having difficulty paying their rent. There was a lot of other business discussed, as there always is, including a financial report on the operating of the company and considerations about value for money, building safety and health and safety, all of which were carefully considered by the board. But I think those were the sort of principal decisions that people need to know about. Okay, thank you very much. Our next board meeting, I believe, is in January.